Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with a new video. So I wanted to start the video off with actually this comment that was left for me on my why Wolverine should not be an indigenous character video. Because I want to explain something, especially to those who are new, which is a little thing called respect. Now, to be fair, I don't get too many comments too often that are outright disrespectful, and I appreciate that. I try to create and maintain a space where we can respectfully discuss things. But yeah, this person here, Dr. Fate, now I don't know if they're a subscriber. I have over 500 subscribers, so I don't remember everybody's name. I apologize. And I don't know if this person is just a troll or a subscriber or whatnot, but regardless, I want to make something clear. If you want to have a conversation with me, if you're going to come into my space, my comment section on my video, and you want to talk, that's fine. But the moment you start with insults is the moment I tune you out. Right? So originally Dr. Fate left this comment about why it's okay to make Wolverine indigenous. I made a whole, 20, 30-minute video explaining why it's not, but okay. We don't have to agree. You can think it's a fine idea. That's okay. We are of just different opinions. And I left a comment, a brief one. Let's see if it loads. Not saying hi to reply. Whatever. Anyway, I left a brief response explaining that because he mentioned Kate Bishop and he mentioned Riri Williams, who was Ironheart. I mentioned that those two are still original characters, right? It's not the same as wanting to more or less race lift James Howlett Wolverine, right? And to be clear, I don't think that Kate Bishop or especially Riri are particularly well written characters, and I don't agree with them taking on the name of their male hero. Same way I don't agree with Laura Kinney, X-23, losing the X-23 moniker and going by Wolverine. I think it's an insult to both the original character and the new character who had her own name and her own stories, but was needed to replace a man. Guess what? No one's going to think X-23 is Wolverine. Wolverine is always going to be James Howlett. But my point is that at least in those instances, those are original characters. You're not race lifting a currently existing character. You're making a derivative of an existing character, but you're not race lifting them, right? So Dr. Fate responds with, because I mentioned Thunderbird and Warpath, right? Because saying that, well, um, why not just make a story about original Native American characters like Forge, Warpath, Thunderbird? So Dr. Fate starts with, Thunderbird is Warpath, dipshit. And this is where the conversation ends. This is the last time I'm addressing this comment. The moment you respond to me with a senseless insult, right? We're done. We are done. I'm not going to entertain insulting language, especially directed toward me, on my own damn video. You can say whatever you like, but I won't be responding to it. But here's the thing, Dr. Fate. Thunderbird is Warpath, that's true, but it's only for one character. Let me give you a little bit of an education, since apparently I'm a dipshit. Okay? There were two brothers, Dr. Fate. Two brothers. John and James Proudstar. They have both used the name of Thunderbird. John was Thunderbird for a very brief time because he would die very early in his tenure with the X-Men. His brother, James, would take up the name Thunderbird and then later on go to be Warpath. So I am not wrong. I wrote it down the way I remember it. I personally always remember Thunderbird and Warpath as two different people. John being Thunderbird, right? And James being Warpath. Because he eventually becomes Warpath. You were only thinking of James. I was thinking of both. So maybe next time. Anyway, as I was saying, I was thinking of the brothers Proudstar. 2 of them. You're only thinking of James Proudstar. So before you call someone names, you might want to, check your sources, because the way I wrote it is correct. There is a Thunderbird and there is a Warpath, and one of them has happened to have both names, right? This is like complaining about calling Noob Saibot Sub-Zero. If you know Mortal Kombat, you know why calling him Sub-Zero is appropriate. But anyway, these type of comments are not acceptable, and they will not be entertained beyond me calling you out for your rudeness, and in this case, your lack of knowledge. Now, moving on to what I really wanted to make a video about, which is this, in a way. So, I've seen this article floating around about how Masters and Masters of the Universe is going to become Evil Lynn's story in its second half. Now, this article isn't really what I want to address. I'm not going to be covering it. It's more of a certain thing Kevin says in the video. Sorry, in the article that I want to just briefly address from a storytelling perspective. He talks about a journey. He talks about Teela's journey. And having watched this thing and actually having been reviewing a lot of the books that I actually do have on storytelling and story structure and whatnot, I just wanted to briefly point out how Teela didn't go on any journey, Kevin. So let's get to it. So it says here, right, that there was a new Q&A about the next 6 episodes or 5 episodes, 6 to 10 or whatnot. And Kevin says here, he says that Evil Lynn is one of his favorite characters, right? But that he says that we mirror Teela's journey with Evil Lynn's journey as well. I wanna highlight that, right? We mirror Teela's journey with Evil Lynn's journey as well. So he says, there's just one problem here, Kevin. Teela didn't go on a journey. She didn't. Not emotionally, not as a character. There was no character arc for her in the first 5 episodes. I know, I watched them and reviewed them all in one day. Never again. That physically hurt. But the whole point of a journey, Mr. Smith, is that you are traveling, you are moving, you're going from one destination to another. If we're talking about storytelling, first of all, as I said in the very first video, the sacking of Grayskull should not be at the beginning of the show. It should be toward the end, right? As a season finale, right? So that's your first mistake. But your second mistake is in Teela's knighting ceremony, right? When she becomes Man-at-Arms. Typically, you don't open up with a scene like that because she's basically being awarded for something that we as viewers have never seen, which is why you had such painful exposition in the beginning, everyone praising her and talking about how she's the world's greatest warrior and how she deserves to be Man-at-Arms. It's the equivalent of what happens occasionally in pro wrestling when a heel character is just, and for those who don't know pro wrestling, the heel is the bad guy, right? The heel is the villain. It's when the villain is just awarded the world championship, right? It makes fans angry. Why does it make fans angry? It makes fans angry because you wanted to see a fight. You wanted to see the champion, overcome all challengers. You wanted to see that person earn it, right? When you're following the baby face, right, the good guy, you want to see them overcome all challengers, overcome all obstacles, and finally, face the champion, face the big bad scary champion, right, on the big show, at the final fight of the show, right, the big match, right? You want to see them overcome. You want to be taken on a journey. As Ric Flair has most famously said, to be the man, woo! You've got to beat the man, right? You want to see that. Or if you're the defending champion, fans want to see you take on and and defend your title and take on all challengers, because that also involves you overcoming opponents, overcoming challenges, right? Because once you're on top, you got to fight to stay there. So when a person is simply awarded a belt, right, all of that journey has been cut out. The difference is that in pro wrestling, that's typically done to intentionally make the fans angry at the heel character. It's meant to get the heel character heat, right? It's meant to get the fans upset with them. It's intentional. Here, I don't think Kevin was being intentional. I think he thought, or the people who worked with him on this thought, that opening up with Teela's ceremony was a good idea. It wasn't. The whole point of a ceremony like that in storytelling terms is a reward, right? It's a reward for overcoming all the challenges. Think like, it's not exactly the same, but think like Ahsoka in Rebels, right? There's a scene early on in season 2 of Rebels where she comes and saves the day and beats up 2 Inquisitors, right? And she makes the fight look easy. If you watch clips of that online, and the clips that still have comment sections because Disney strikes everything, you'll see that a lot of people are happy to see that. They're not upset, right? A common complaint is, how is this skinny woman overcoming all of these opponents, right? But in that clip with Ahsoka, she herself a tall skinny woman, right? People are incredibly happy to see it. Why? Because the fans already know what she can do. Because there were seasons upon seasons of Clone Wars before she reappeared on Rebels. So for those who followed Clone Wars, who saw her journey, they know that it perfectly makes sense in the context of her story, in the context of Clone Wars, that she can do such a thing. You have that knowledge because you've seen that journey. So her defeating 2 Inquisitors makes perfect sense, right? That's not the same with Teela. We never see Teela in a fight previous to the ceremony. What Kevin Smith and company are relying on is fans' previous knowledge of her from the '80s show, right? They're expecting you to have watched at least some of the '80s show to know how much of a warrior she is, so you accept this. Generally speaking, again, not good storytelling, because you're always going to have at least one person who's never seen the '80s show, who doesn't know who the hell this character is. Hence why the exposition is again, so damned painful, because you basically have to say, she is very, 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 very good at fighting. Take us on our word for it. She's very, very, very good at fighting. She totally deserves this. Without giving us any proof at that particular stage, because it's the very first episode. Now, if you move the ceremony down to like the end of season 2 or whatever, right? You put it later in the story, after she's actually, had some time to actually be on some adventures and get into some fights, your audience would have proof. There would be a body of work saying, hey, she was in this scene, she was in that scene, this episode was about her and it was really cool, and she did this cool thing and that cool thing. And then people, it's easier to accept when your audience has literally seen her go through this journey. Here's another comparison. Imagine if at the beginning of Disney's 1991 classic Beauty and the Beast, or rather Belle tells the Beast that she loves him and he loves her, and then he turns back into a human, and then they get married, right? There's a reason why that's for the end of the story, because that's the reward for Belle and Beast overcoming all of the obstacles that have kept them apart, right? If you start that at the beginning, you have no story to tell, right? But anyway, so there's my extended rant about why the knighting ceremony shouldn't have been happening in the first episode either. But he talks about taking Teela on a journey. The thing is that if you're familiar with the hero's journey, right, with the concept, it's all about change. It's all about taking your protagonist through different spaces, different worlds, different challenges, encountering different types of people, so that they change as they go along, right? Kevin Smith in the first 5 episodes. Again, I can't speak to the next set of 5. They're not out yet, but having watched the first 5, he moves Teela exactly one space. It's like chess, right? Like the pawn piece. You just move one space, right? He moved her exactly one space. He moved her out of her ordinary world, right, of combat, right? Because it does, as much as I do not like the way the first episode opens, it did one thing right. It does establish Teela's normal world, right? Her ordinary world, her comfort zone, which is that she is a loyal warrior to the royals and by extension to Eternia, right? And she's being rewarded for her prowess at war. We understand quickly that she's a warrior, she's a fighter, she's a soldier, she's the captain of the guard, right? She has this very high rank, and now she's getting an even higher rank. So it did do that right. And then, of course, her leaving at the end of episode 1 and the beginning of episode 2, of course, is her transition from her ordinary world of loyal service to the royals to her new life, to the new world of being a freelance mercenary and being anti-magic and being this, bitter woman and all this stuff. So I will give Kevin and company that. They did do that part right. They moved her from the ordinary world to the special world, to the new world where the adventure is going to take place. Past that, Teela doesn't move a damn inch. I've seen boulders move more, move further than Teela does. There was no journey here. If the idea was to mirror Teela's journey with Evil Lynx, that didn't happen. Right? Teela literally watches 3 men die. Right? He-Man, Orko, and Roboto. Right? All 3 of those men make a heroic sacrifice, and yet she still can't get it through her thick head what they're dying for, or why they're dying, or why she needs to really just get over the fact that Adam kept a secret from her when he kept it from his own father. Right? She watches Adam be resurrected, come back to life, and then she watches him get stabbed again. And yet, emotionally, she has not moved an inch. She has literally gone to hell, gone to heaven, witnessed death, witnessed resurrection, and she hasn't moved one damned inch emotionally. She's the same person at the end of episode 5. She's the same person emotionally that she was at the end of episode 1. She did not move. She didn't have a journey. It reminds me of part of the song "You Could Be Mine" by Guns N' Roses. It's my favorite GNR track because, of course, it is. But anyway, there's a part toward the end of the song where Axel goes on this rant. Right? He goes on this rant, and at a certain point, he says, 5 years is forever, and you haven't grown up yet. Right? And that's what I kept thinking about when it came to this particular line here that Kevin Smith is talking about Teela being on a journey. Right? She hasn't grown up. She hasn't changed one damn bit. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying that her emotional journey, right, that her emotional growth needs to be complete in these 5 episodes. It doesn't. Right? It shouldn't. Because the story isn't over yet. But she should have moved somewhere. I mean, compare this to like Yu Yu Hakusho, right? Yusuke moves a lot emotionally between episode 1 and the end of the first season of the show, right? And we also get to see from Yusuke that even though he himself, is very much a angry punk and he's got a lot of emotional issues, we also see that he does have a caring side, right? He is very self-sacrificial. That's quite literally how the story opens, right? Him dying because he throws himself in front of a car to save a child, right? All for all of Yusuke's negative qualities, like his potty mouth or him being pervy toward Keiko or picking on Kuwabara. We see his positive qualities, In particular, his self-sacrificing nature. We see it in the beginning. We see it when he comes back to life and he helps Kurama, right? Wanting to save him, even though it might cause Yusuke to die again, because he does not want Kurama's mother to go through the pain of losing her son. Right, that's the difference. Togashi made a grumpy, angry young man, but he also gave him positive qualities for you to admire, so you don't hate the guy. And Yusuke grows and changes a lot throughout series, right? The person Yusuke is at the end of the story, right, years and years later, and then the person he was at the beginning are completely different. Because Yusuke at the end of the story has finally found a measure of peace in his life, whereas Yusuke in the beginning of the story was very much the angry young man. That's called story arc. Now, granted, it took place over like 4 years or so in the comics, but still, that's an arc. Yusuke moves in every season, every arc, right? He moves emotionally while retaining certain core characteristics, such as his love for his friends, his sacrificial nature, his unpredictability, his sense of humor, right? That's called a story arc. And Kevin, it would be nice if you would finally put Teela on a proper story arc where she actually grows and changes emotionally while retaining some core qualities. It would also be nice if she could finally start losing her very childish anger, because, well, her childish anger is making fans very, 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 very angry at you. But anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Bye.